Namaste. Good morning. Welcome. We are here on this very first day of March. My goodness, it is just marching along, isn't it? So thank you for joining me this morning. We have a new month, a new theme from Centers for Spiritual Living, and the theme is what if? Hmm. It's what if? Kind of intriguing, open-ended, curiosity stirring, spiritually challenging, as we'll find. All of this coming here for us in this new month. So, um, the actual theme summary from CSL for this month begins this way. This month, we lean fully into imagination as the seed of transformation, daring to see the best in ourselves and one another as we co-create a world that works for all. Wow. Okay. So I don't know about you, but when I was a child, my playmates and I used to create magical worlds. You know, kings and queens, princes and princesses, superwomen who fought the bad guys. Okay. Um, what if was the realm of play and fantasy back then when we were little? But now, as an adult, it takes on the feeling of a greater possibility. So today's lesson is a world of pure imagination. Imagination is an amazing power that we each have, but perhaps we underuse or use in ways that are self-defeating, maybe even fearful. So I want to start today's lesson with a review of what imagination is, both from the secular perspective and from a science of mind perspective. What it's already created in the world that we live in, and even now what is still unfolding as a result of someone's imagination. So today's lesson asks us this question: what kind of world could we build together if we truly believed anything was possible? What kind of world could we build together if we truly believed anything was possible? What kind of world could we create if we collectively imagined it? What would it look like? Um, what if we actually used the tools that we know exist because of our studies of the science of mind? The practices we teach and use in our personal lives can be used beyond personal experience and life dreams. We can expand them to envision a world that encompasses all that is for the highest and best expression of freedom, respect, balance, harmony, justice, not just for us as humans, but for absolutely everything, including our planet. Think about how we could use our latest technology, artificial intelligence or AI, to work with us and for us as we teach it how to think and plan in terms of a world that works for everyone. This is woo, we're stepping out there, right? And lastly, we're going to consider the challenge and the opportunity that exists for us to use the imagination superpower to bring the world we say we want into reality. So, got to put the cheaters on here now. Imagination. Now, I always like to start with definitions, you know that. So, Merriam-Webster defines imagination in this way: the act or power of forming a mental image or of something not present to the senses or never before wholly perceived in reality. A creative ability, the ability to confront and deal with a problem, getting imaginative outcomes. The thinking of an active mind, a creative product of the mind, fanciful or empty assumption, something that only exists in one's mind. So that's what Merriam-Webster says about imagination. Again, I go back to when I was a child. My playmates and I created whole worlds. I don't know if you had playmates like that. Oh, there were whole worlds, hierarchies, families, inventions, and we played them out, in our games, in our time, our playtime. I do remember adults in my world, speaking of children who had active, or shall we say even overactive imaginations. Somehow that wasn't a good thing. Excuse me. Somehow an overactive imagination was not necessarily something you wanted to have. And sometimes parents and teachers call imagining daydreaming or time wasting. I can remember a few of my fellow students getting challenged because of daydreams. So it wasn't necessarily supported or encouraged, at least not when I was in school umpteen years ago. If we turn to the glossary of the science of mind to review Ernest Holmes' definition of imagine, we find it coupled with the term will. So imagination and will. Interesting. It's a lengthy definition. I'm only going to share it in part with you. But Holmes begins his definition from the glossary with a reference to a French psychologist. His name was Émile Coué. He was also a pharmacist and a hypnotist. I was not aware of this person until I started digging into this today. And just to give you a little background of Mr. Coué, Wikipedia, one of my great sources, tells us Coué's method was based upon the view that operating deep below our conscious awareness, a complex arrangement of ideas, especially when those ideas are dominant, continuously and spontaneously suggest things to us, and from this, significantly influence one's overall health and well-being. It sounds a lot like subjective ideas in Holmes' teaching, doesn't it? And he says, Coué says, we possess within us a force of incalculable power, which, when we handle it unconsciously, is often prejudicial to us. If, on the contrary, we direct it in a conscious and wise manner, it gives us the mastery of ourselves and allows us not only to escape from physical and mental ills, but also to live in relative happiness, whatever the conditions in which we may find ourselves. Wow. Turning back to Holmes and his Science of Mind glossary definition, he writes, Coué announced a great truth when he said that imagination is superior to the will, but he did not explain the philosophy behind the truth. We did not make life, and we cannot change it, but we use it, and the use of life is through the imagination. Because this faculty has, at its roots, the very wellspring of life and action. Imagination carries with it feeling and conviction, which means life and action. It awakens within us all the inner forces of nature and stirs into action latent powers which otherwise would never come to the surface. Willpower may be necessary in its place as a directive agency, but as a creative agency, it is non-existent. Imagination taps the very roots of being and utilizes the same power that brought the world forth from chaos. Imagination is the power of the word, as in capital W word, the one God spoke, which will is directive agency, denoting the purpose for which the word is spoken. Will directs the imagination, but the imagination is the creative part. Cooey and, of course, Dr. Holmes believed in the power of thought and imagination in creating a fulfilling, healthy life. We've heard over and over our thoughts create our reality. Most of our lesson today focuses on directing, most of our lessons focus on directing our individual thoughts to our individual lives. This week and this month, we're invited to consider a bigger picture, using our collective imaginations to bring into being a world that does work for everyone. The notes from CSL in support of this month's theme ask the question, what kind of world could we build together if we truly believed anything was possible? Do we truly believe anything is possible? If we consider the changes that have come over our lifetimes and how they came about, we're seeing that there's quite a bit of support for that idea. CSL, the notes from CSL provide a quote from a website called Awaken. It's a site which posts thought-provoking books and then asks for input from the public. The creator of this week's notes quoted from that site a person by the name of Phoebe Tickell. She wrote, "Imagination is not daydreaming." And this is just one person's take on this. I want to share some of the pertinent parts of it, of what she wrote. Imagination is a superpower. Every single change in society started in someone's imagination or in a small group's collective imagination. From women getting the vote to the civil rights movement or better services for healthcare. Some say it's the quality that makes us most uniquely human, especially our ability to collectively imagine the new. But imagination is not recognized for what it is, the star stuff of truly radical innovation that builds a new world into being. It's often dismissed as something associated with daydreaming, fantasy, and fiction. What if this carried on throughout life, with our organizational and civic systems constantly narrowing out imagination rather than recognizing its true importance? It's natural that in a period of austerity, imagination falls to the bottom of priorities. As we face scarcity and insurmountable challenges, people focus on efficiency, practical deliverables, and getting things done. Imagination is seen as a distraction, something woolly and perhaps relevant for an away day, but not core to the building of new policy and systems. Imagine if we're wrong. How can we solve some of these deep-rooted problems? If we use the same approaches, we will get the same answers we have always got. The challenges we face are incredibly complex and cannot be solved by any one individual or solution alone. Our imagination can be incredibly helpful to paint different scenarios in our mind and test them out through simulations. Where our quote from Dr. Holmes this morning was this: when we use creative imagination in strong faith, it will create for us, out of the one substance, whatever we have formed in thought. In this way, we become a co-creator with God. That's from the science of mind. The challenge and the opportunity for us as practitioners of this science of mind is to create the image of a world that works for everyone and everything. We need to employ our imagination to even begin to consider the idea and what it would look like. A world where there is space for everyone. A world where we bring our wisdom, courage, and strength to what we create and invite others to do the same. It would be a world filled with love, respect, joy, enough for everyone. And it would mean that we would need to be able to build a world that doesn't even exist yet, something beyond what we've ever known. Does that sound like it's too far-fetched? So I want you to just take a moment and consider some of the amazing and imaginative things humanity has created just during our lifetimes. The things that when we were children were ideas that were showing up in sci-fi films like Star Wars or on TV in the Star Trek series. Okay. Consider 3D printing. Okay. You know, when Jean-Luc Picard said to his replicator, Earl Grey tea, hot, and there it was. Well, we have 3D printers now that create things for us. Okay. We have electric cars. We didn't imagine those years ago. We have video calls and conferencing. Those are relatively new to us. We have clones. That's not that new, but Dolly the sheep was the first one that was hit the world. Okay, Dolly the sheep. We have exoskeletons now for people to use that allow them to carry incredible amounts of weight, or even if they're paraplegics, just to be able to move around. Think about smartwatches. Whoa, that's a Dick Tracy thing from the funny papers, remember? And now you can actually have your phone and talk through your watch because it will ring there and you can pick up your mail and your texts off your watch. Okay, and talk to someone through it. That's pretty amazing. We have smartphones, which really and truly are, as my friend Raj says, pocket computers. They do an amazing amount of things. We have so many opportunities to do research, to communicate, and then there's the World Wide Web. Think about that. These are all things that were products of people's imaginations. We just glimpsed them when we were children, but someone had an imagination about how those technological items would benefit us and what they would look like in the world. So just contemplating that, we start this month of what if? What if? What if we did imagine people coming together and sharing ideas, a table where everyone's voice is welcome, where equality and justice and truth and wisdom and all of the good stuff is before us, and we're imagining it for the benefit of everyone. In this teaching of the science of mind, we understand the significance of aligning our thoughts and feelings with the co-creative power of spirit within us. As I mentioned in the quote from Dr. Holmes, we become co-creators with God. Spiritual mind treatment and affirmations, our time in meditation, are means of creating a mold for spirit to pour itself into. We create the idea, the feeling, the way, or the thing that we seek to experience. We embody that in our words, our feeling, and when we give a treatment. We literally create a mold that spirit then fills. We don't outline the way the mold gets filled, because that's where God comes in and fills that mold for us. We leave that entirely up to God. Those practices that we use in our personal lives for our health, or our economic conditions, our personal relationships, our work in the world, those are the tools that we use and can be extended, if you choose, to imagine something even greater. We can use the same tools we know how and what to imagine a world where justice, equality, love, compassion, respect, enough for everyone, all voices heard. That becomes a standard. We can do that. By using the tools that we already know about and use frequently in our personal lives, we can become activists in the world for that world that does work for everyone, and create a world of pure imagination. But we can use those tools in a bigger space, a bigger opportunity. Our lives, yes, but certainly we can extend that out to the entire planet. Wow, how powerful is that? And we use them every day, and can use them every day. So the notes from this week's talk reference AI, which is artificial intelligence. I have to be kind of honest about this. I've stepped around AI in a lot of what I do in my work. Every time I put something into the Google or Chrome to ask a question or get a definition, it comes back with an AI response. Now, the thing about that is that I always have to take it with a grain of salt. Okay. And even if you read under the whatever AI has said to you about this, it says, it doesn't always get it right. Okay. So, yes, I do take AI, artificial intelligence, with a grain of salt. What I was not aware of is that AI actually learns from the people who use it. Think about that. It actually learns, it responds to what you ask and how you ask it, where you go with it. In other words, it interprets what it's asked or what it creates. What it creates is influence, by the imagination or the input or the way the question is asked by the person who uses it. Does that make sense? So you use the tool and it goes, oh, well, they want to go this way with it. They want to think about it this way. Okay. So the suggestion from the notes this week, and sounds really, here again, kind of like Star Trek, off in the distance, but it really isn't. It's right here, right now. What if we guided AI and other technology with a spiritually based vision? So instead of creating a world where inequality is the norm, what if it could be taught to include marginalized populations, consider everybody? And what if, in the outcomes for economic growth, there was a plan for equal distribution of resources and appropriate utilization of resources, not the exhaustion? And what if AI could be used to create restorative projects in ecology, social norms, even social justice? Imagination, working in conjunction with AI, could become something of a moral compass if the input to it is focused and dedicated to spiritual advancement. Think about that. Dr. Holmes wrote, we must give undivided attention to the spiritual unity back of all things. I think that probably does include AI. The spiritual unity back of all things. You and I, our imaginations, artificial intelligence. There is on the planet right now tremendous forces of inequality. There's climate anxiety and political extremism in the world. And yet, even so, there's still whole bodies of people who are standing strong for the values and truths they hold in their hearts. And those are values and that include everyone, that include the planet. Equity, equality, justice, community, concern for the earth, dignity of all people. Okay. There still are people who are living that, who are imagining that. The invitation then is for us to consider using our imagination to create in mind that world that works for everyone, that time, that space, that place of possibilities. We don't have to know how to get there. It's like anything else that we do when we align with the co-creative power of spirit. We need to begin imagine what it could be, what it would feel like, how it would be for everyone. Imagine that. Really embody that. And we do that by using the tools that we already have at our disposal, that we already know how to use. And we use that to image a place that's safe, that's just, that is balanced, harmonious, where there's respect and truth, wisdom and peace for everyone, for the whole planet. That's a bit of an awesome challenge. We are reminded that the world we imagine is the world we create. And here again, sometimes, and I find myself guilty of this, imagining things that are not healthy, that are not good, that are not loving, kind, generous, compassionate, that are not really the nature of spirit, life. Sometimes I do misuse my imagination. I don't know about you. And so the intention then this morning, what we're asked to look at is using that very powerful, it is a superpower of imagination. And when we do that, we aren't waiting for the world to change. We're imagining it into being. We can use it to create darkness, sadness, difficulty, or we can use it to imagine incredible good, health, well-being. It's a powerful tool. So we are invited this morning to step into that what if, that world of pure imagination, and really use it collectively, use it for our highest good, the good of everyone. Everyone. Imagine if we had a world where we didn't need to have wars. There was no need for that. Everybody had enough. Everybody was able to pursue their dreams. Everybody was free to follow their faith. My gosh, what a world that would be. So I'm going to do a treatment to set my intention, and I hope you join me in this. Because the more of us that are there, the better, the quicker, the richer it will be. So join me in this knowing. Beloved, we align with the infinite loving presence, the creative intelligence of the one mind, and recognizing that each of us is an instrument, a way, and a means for divine intention to express and reveal itself in the world. We say thank you. And we set the intention by this word, by this prayer this morning, to utilize that power for the highest good. We include our own lives, but we extend to the world of this planet, to the life of all being, to everyone, where we imagine a world of equity and honor and justice, of respect for nature, honoring of each other's needs, where everyone has a voice at the table. And it's good, and it's very good. May we be inspired, may we be guided and directed from within to entertain those expansive thoughts, those ideas of what it could be. And may we be inspired to do so. Thank you, beloved, for this insight, this wisdom, this guidance, this world of possibility. We honor this today by entertaining these ideas and set an intention to incorporate what we can, where we can, how we can into our own spiritual practices. Knowing that there is a power that co-creates with us and giving thanks that it does. And so we accept this word made manifest and give thanks. And then release this now into the law of infinite mind to do its perfect work. Thank you. And so it is. Namaste.